Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's write some more Leetcode today. Today we are solving count number of bad pairs. So the problem says that we are given a zero-indexed integer array named nums. And a pair of indices ij is considered a bad pair if I is less than j and j minus 1 does not equal to nums of j minus nums of I. And in the end, we want to return the total number of bad pairs in nums. So if we look at this example, it has 5 pairs that are considered bad pairs, and you can read them right here to see why they are unequal. And actually the only good pair that we find is at index 3, subtract by 3, that's 0. It's equal to index 1, subtract by 1, that's 0. So that's the only good pair that we found. So I think a pretty simple way to solve this is we can set up a nested for loop. But if we try that approach, it will say time limit exceeded. So we have to think of a faster way to solve this, which I will go over and explain how we can make this problem more efficient. So before we get to the detailed explanation, we should acknowledge that j minus I not equaling nums of j minus nums of I is the same as nums of I minus I not equaling nums of j minus j, because we just subtract j and add nums of I to both sides of the equation. And this part, nums of I minus I, is what we will be used to solve the problem later on. Secondly, so if we look at this, originally, it can make 0 pair, but if we add index 1, then we will add 1, and now the total number of possible pairs is 1 pair. Now, if we add index 2, now we add 2 to the total pairs, and the total number of possible pairs is 3 pairs. So I hope we see some patterns now that if we add index 3, it will add 3 more possible pairs, and now the number of total possible pairs is 6 pairs. So basically the pattern is that whatever index we add to the array, that will add that index number of total possible pairs to the total number of possible pairs. And I believe the easier way to solve this problem, it will just take the total number of pairs minus the total number of good pairs, and then we will find the total number of bad pairs. And I'll go over how we can find the total number of good pairs right now. So how we keep track of the number of good pairs is that at each index, we will calculate the nums of index minus the index number, and that will be our difference. And then we will add that difference as the key to the hash map, and the number of occurrences as the value of the hash map. So that is how we can keep track of the number of good pairs for the future iteration. So when we get to a future iteration, we will take the index minus the number of good pairs, and then we will add that to the result. And we find the number of good pairs by looking at the difference hash map. I think it will make more sense as I go over the example, so I'll go over the example right now. So if we look at this example, okay, at index 0, nums of I, which is 4, minus 0, it's equal to 4. And then number of good pairs, no, we look at 4 in difference, it's not in the hash map, so there's 0 good pairs so far. Index minus goods, 0 minus 0, it's 0. So we add 0 to the result, which is still 0 for now. But now we need to add 4 to the hash map, so now there's 1 occurrence of 4. So now we add index 1, nums of I minus I, which is 1 minus 1, is equal to 0. 0 is not in hash map, so number of goods is still 0. Index 1 minus 0 is equal to 1. So now we add 1 to result. There's now 1 bad pair because these two are not equal. And we need to add 0 to the hash map. So 0. Now there's 1 occurrence of it. Now move to the next index. Nums of I, 3 minus I, which is 2. It's equal to 1. And then we look at 1. 1 is not in the hash map, so the number of goods is still 0. Index 2 minus 0, which is equal to 2. Because this does not make a good pair with this nor this. So we add 2 to the result, which now the result is 3. And now we need to add 1 to the difference hash map. Now we get to the final index, nums of I minus I, 3 minus 3, which is 0. And now look, 0 is in the hash map and the value is 1. So the number of good pairs is 1 because this and this will make a good pair. So now the index minus goods, it's still 2 because index is 3 minus good pairs is 1, so it's equal to 2. Add 2 to the result, now it's 5. So we have 5 total number of bad pairs, and that would be our result. So the time complexity of this problem would be O of n, where n is the number of elements because we will have to loop through the array once. And the space complexity will also be O of n because the difference hash map may take up to n elements. So now let's get to the coding part. So first we set the result to 0, and then we will initialize the difference hash map. So, yep, and now we can set up the for loop for I in range length of nums. And now we want to calculate the difference number. So we can do I minus nums of I or nums of I minus I. Either way works. And then now we want to find the number of good pairs. So we look in the hash map, difference.get num. And if num isn't there, then it will be 0. And now we want to add the index minus the number of good pairs to the result. So result plus equal I minus goods. And now we want to update the difference hash map. So difference of num is equal to goods plus 1. So num equals to number of good pairs, and we add 1. And in the end, we can just return result. Now let's see if it works. Okay, perfect. Hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down in the comment section, and I hope to see you all again soon.